Yeah, hi everybody, and I am Michael Buckoff, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of the lessons at the 7-step system to pass a TOEFL iBT. And earlier today, I had to cut my video short a little bit. I wasn't exactly... How do I say? I was talking to some people online at YouTube, and I was grading some things. My wife came in, and we were getting ready to go to an Italian restaurant, so I had to leave. So I kind of cut the video short, and I will continue where I left off a few hours ago. So right now, what I'm doing is I am scoring two specific speaking practice tests from online students who submitted practice tests on Friday, and given the fact that today is Saturday, I need to get these graded. I want to give my students feedback as quickly as possible. So the first student, this is a speaking practice test number 136, and his name is Raphael. And let's take a look at... You have actually a grammar question to them, all right? So we need to deal with this one first. And let me get this ready too. So it's going to take me some time to figure this out. So give me a quick second. And what I want to do is I'm going to try to answer your question here. Okay, we got it. And I want people at YouTube also to see this question. Okay, so, and give me a quick second here. What I want to do now is I am going to change the screen for a minute and go to screen capture. So I'm going to take a look at this right now, and your question is right here. Okay, so here's your question. You say, considering that the coordinate conjunctions for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so require parallel structures, you want to say here, instead of does maybe, do the transition words or the subordinators require... You want to say also require parallel structures in their clauses, all right? So what you're saying is, if you said something like this, I like, you might say boating and fishing, right? So you're saying that because I'm using the coordinator here, I want to have same structure here, same structure over here. So in this case, I'm using a gerund and another gerund. So it would not be parallel if I said this, right? I like boating and to fish, right? So you understand that coordinated conjunctions need to have parallel structures on both sides of those coordinators. But that's not really your question. Your question is about subordinating conjunctions and transition words. I'm going to say kind of yes and no on that. So transition words, what I would say is transition words need to be parallel if you're using them to introduce specific points in different body paragraphs. So if you're, let's say you're doing independent writing, right? And you say first of all in this paragraph, and then you have some words here, right? And let's say that this is a paragraph here. So once you go to the next paragraph, you would want to say second of all. So what I'm saying is the transition words that you use in the topic sentences of those body paragraphs in your independent writing or during TOEFL speaking, they should be parallel in that sense. That would be my answer to that specific question. All right, so let's go to the next one. So you're saying, do subordinators also require? So when you're talking about subordinators, let me give some examples for my audience here. You're talking about words like because, although, even though, words like if, words like who, maybe that, maybe which. Okay, so in this case, within the actual clause, you just have to remember that when you're writing sentences generally, you need to keep things fairly similar. You don't want to do any kind of crazy grammar in different parts of your sentence, but I would say parallel structure applies with subordinators if you're using several of them in a row, right? So you might want to say, this is an example of using a subordinated conjunction and being careful that I'm parallel in the grammar I'm using within that dependent clause, right? So I'm saying because I am tired, hungry, and sleepy, I need to work early. So to answer your question, within this dependent clause and with this subordinating conjunction, I am using adjectives, 3 adjectives in a row, and these adjectives should be all the same. Now I could say because I'm tired, because I am hungry, and because I am sleepy, I need to leave work early. In that case, you could use parallel, what we call dependent clauses, one after the other to create a balanced type sentence. So that would be part of my answer as it applies to that. Now your question is complicated. I mean, I could go on all day trying to answer this question, to be honest with you, but what I want to do now is I'm going to take you to my online course for a minute. So give me a quick second. So let me go back to the video for just a minute. Okay, here we go. So I'm going back to video, and I want to go to my website, to my online TOEFL course, Raphael, and I want to show you a specific lesson that I think will be helpful for you. All right? So let's do that right now, and I will go back to the screen capture video in just a second. Okay, so going over to my online TOEFL course, I'm going to go to the grammar part of my course. I do have a specific lesson that I think that you should review. Okay, let's say, okay, let me find it quicker. I can't remember what lesson it is, but let me go into the website and let's see what we have. Okay, so now let me go back to, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to go back to screen capture now for a minute. Let's do that so you can kind of follow what I'm doing here. The problem here, I'm experimenting with the screen capture and the things here over at YouTube, kind of seeing how it all works. It's a little bit limited, but I will tell you what I'm doing in case you cannot see it from the screen. Okay, first of all, I'm going to the grammar part of my course. That's the first thing I want to do. And then secondly, I want to find the lesson on parallel structure. Here it is. Lesson number 14, grammar lesson 14. This is the one that you want to take a look at right here. Do you see this? This will give you pretty much all the instruction that you need in order to understand parallel structure, particularly as it relates to TOEFL speaking and TOEFL writing. All right, Raphael, so that will be my answer to your specific question. We got that. Now let me go back to video. Okay, now I need to go back to you gave me some other comments too I want to take a look at right now. Okay, now I'm going to go back to screen capture and take a look at what you said here. Okay, so you say additionally, thank you so much. And I would probably say here, thank you so much for grading my writing tasks or my writing task in your live stream. I realize that I sent you this task to be graded by MG, but I would say here, because you're referring back to something you already mentioned, I would say I put the wrong title on the message. Thus, to verify if this causes you some problem, I reviewed some passages of your live streaming recorded. Unfortunately, I do not know how I realize in my task how I realize that my writing task, I would say here past perfect here had been graded passive voice. I was very lucky to pause the video exactly in the moment of your revision. So thank you so much, Professor. All your comments, maybe put a period here to avoid that comma splice. All your comments have been very useful to improve my score. However, I have to admit I'm still using more than 30 minutes. But I hope that I'm going to, I would use the word overcome this problem in the following days. Thank you again, Professor. You know what? I wouldn't worry too much about that. I get this message a lot, Raphael. A lot of my online students, when they're doing practice tests, they do take longer than 30 minutes. You want to hear something crazy? This is going to blow your mind right here. I had a student from Japan who would send me writing practice tests every day. She took 40 minutes to organize, to write out, to practice her speaking before she emailed it to me, and then I would listen to it and give her comments. She spent 40 minutes every day for 2 months on every practice test. Now, you know, I know, you only have 15 to 20 seconds of preparation time before you have to answer an independent speaking prompt during the TOEFL speaking section, am I right? You know that, I know that, right? And you only have about 30 seconds, 20 to 30 seconds of preparation time before you have to give an integrated task. But nevertheless, after about 3 months of taking all of this time every day doing her speaking, she went and took the TOEFL exam and got 28 points on the speaking. Now, how is that? How is that? And I think what happened to her will happen to you is because she was taking all of that time to plan and prepare her speaking tasks, and you're taking all of this time to plan and write your writing tasks. What's happening during all this preparation? Your grammar is becoming better. Your vocabulary is becoming better. I mean, let's face it. I just read and I evaluated your writing from yesterday, and you had 4.0 out of 5, 25 points out of 30 on it. You had very good control of your sentence style. You had excellent vocabulary. It was terrific. Think about it. Now, what will happen is as you practice, eventually, the grammar and the organization and the vocabulary, all of this, it'll become more and more automatic to you, and eventually you will be able to do your speaking and your writing tasks within the imposed preparation time constraints of the TOEFL exam. And I promise you, you will get a high score. So don't worry too much right now if you are taking longer than what you need to. I do not see that as a problem. All right, let me go back to the video now. Give me a second here. I'm back. Here we are. Okay, I'm going to get sidetracked here. Now, before I grade my 2 writing tasks, let me just double check, make sure there's no questions over at YouTube here. Let me see, I think we're okay here. Okay, so there's no question. So here's what I'm going to do now. I am going to listen to and score some independent writing practice tests, and the first one will be Raphael. I'm going to listen to yours first. So you just did a independent speaking task response to it. It says, when you're nervous about something, how do you calm yourself? Use specific examples and reasons to support your response, right? Now, I'm actually going to listen to this. I'm very interested to see how you will answer this question. Okay, here we go.
When I'm nervous, I calm myself trying to imagine the worst situations. Well, this could be very useful in situations like facing a difficult exam. Well, the worst scenario of that would be having a bad performance in this exam.
Okay.
And the consequence of that is basically that we would have to retake the exam in the future, which overall is not so critical, and in that way we realize that this worst situation is not so dramatic, and this helped me a lot to reduce all the pressure, and the most probable is that I'm going to have a better performance in the exam due to this previous analysis.
Okay. Okay, before I forget, I need to make sure I have a recording specifically for you. Okay, Raphael, this is Michael, your online TOEFL course teacher, and I'm going to listen to your independent speaking response that you sent me yesterday.
When I'm nervous, I calm myself trying to make...
I would say I calm myself by trying to. Right? So just put the word by in there, and that's going to work. So using a preposition plus a gerund phrase, I think that'll be a little bit better. Control your grammar. Now, I like how you're restating part of the question. When I am nervous, I try to calm myself by. Right? And then you say...
in the worst situations.
Now, by imagining the worst situation, it's difficult to really develop that idea. It's kind of vague. What does that mean, imagining the worst situation? Now, if you say, well, I calm myself through yoga, or I calm myself through meditation, or I calm myself by counting numbers to 10, or I calm myself by taking a quick nap. If you said any of those things, it would be very easy to use details to support those points. So you've picked kind of a challenging topic to kind of prove or develop. But let's see how you do it.
Well, this could be very useful in situations like...
Now, when you say it can be very useful, I would say being pessimistic. And that means imagining the worst case scenario, worst case situation. So when you restate that, use a little bit better vocabulary. Say, well, being pessimistic, if you use pessimistic, that's kind of restating what you said before, and it's showing that you have pretty good vocabulary.
Facing a difficult exam. Well, the worst scenario of that would be having a bad performance in this exam, and the consequence of that is...
Consequence of that, not consequence. So the word stress is going to kill you. Right? So you got to work on that. I've been mentioning this over the last few days. You really need to pay attention to your word stress. Remember, if you go to the pronunciation area of my course, I think it's pronunciation lessons 25 through 28, all of which will help you with word stress. You need to do a little bit better in that area.
Basically, that we...
What you should do is write down the word consequence, put it in your speaking journal, and put the accent under consequence, right? And then you remember where that stress lies in that particular word. So keeping a speaking journal, Raphael, I think is a pretty good idea. So remember some of the comments I'm giving you, put them in the speaking journal, and as you're doing future speaking practice tests, you can kind of minimize some of these problems by reviewing my comments.
Would have to retake the exam in the future, which overall is not so critical, And in that,
See, I don't know what you're doing. You're killing me here. What are you doing exactly? You said in the beginning that you calm yourself by imagining the worst situation possible, right? So then you have to say, first of all, let's say I'm taking a biology exam. So in order to calm myself, I will imagine that I will get maybe 10 or 20% out of 100. I will get an F and I will fail the class. So first of all, I imagine that worst possible situation. And then you build on that idea. You see what I'm saying, Raphael? So I feel like what you're doing in the body of your response is not really illustrating the point that you made in the beginning. So there doesn't seem to be a clear connection of ideas. That's what I'm saying.
we realize that this war situation is not so dramatic, and this helped me a lot to reduce.
This is okay. You're starting to repeat some of the key things you said in the beginning right there. That's good.
The pressure, and the most probable is that I'm going to have a better performance in the exam due to this previous analysis.
Okay, now the question is, what is your score, right? So I think on this one, topic development, I think you have lack of specificity with respect to the content, which means I feel like the details that you gave, they weren't very useful in illustrating the point you're trying to make. So like I said, I was concerned in the beginning when I heard what your topic was, imagining the worst case situation. I was thinking, how is he really going to illustrate that? 15 minutes. So I didn't see how you could really develop that point, and you seem to have some trouble with that. All right, so that's a topic development issue. Overall, you had some delivery issues with word stresses. I pointed out, you remember the word consequence. But overall, I can understand what you're saying, and you are specifically trying to vary your intonation, which is good. Good for you. So on this one, I'm going to put you at about 3.0 out of 4, approximately 23 points out of 30 on this particular practice test. All right? So think about the comments I'm giving you today, so when you do your next speaking practice test tomorrow, see if you can improve upon what you did today. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and email this to you right now. So speaking practice for December 17th. Let me find the email. So you guys watching at YouTube, you kind of see how it works. Improving speaking is a real battle. Anybody who tells you it is not, they don't know what they're talking about. It is a true battle. It takes me a lot of work. It takes my students a lot of work. Together, we have to fight. Usually for 1, 2, or 3 months, the students are sending me practice tests over and over and over. I keep giving them comments, delivery, language use, topic development. And as the students practice, they get more exposure from English in their environment, and they keep posting practice tests for me. Eventually, they get better. And then they send me that email saying, hey, Michael, I got 26 on the speaking. I'm like, yes. And that's what makes me happy, right? So I'm going to go ahead and send these comments over to Raphael. So he can see that. Can we go back to the live dash here? So again, anybody who's watching right now, if you have a question, no matter how small, if you think this question will help you get a higher TOEFL score, and particularly right now, I'm focusing on speaking in this video. However, you can ask me any question you want. I've been teaching TOEFL preparation now for 22 years. I teach at California State University, San Bernardino. I also have my online TOEFL course. And the question that you are asking me, I've probably been asked the question already 500 times, right? So I have a pretty good idea of how to help my students reach their target scores. Okay, let me go back to my email here, and I will check my next practice test. I'm just doing 2 right now. That's all I want to do on this particular live stream, is to correct these 2. Now my next one is Marcelo. So he's been working a lot on doing integrated speaking practice, and the one he's doing today is integrated speaking practice number 19. So let me talk to him for a minute. Yeah, hi there. These comments are for Marcelo, and I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for all of your lessons at the 7-step system to pass the TOEFL iBT. Now, you know what, Marcelo? You want to give me a good Christmas present right now. This is December 17th. You know what would be the best present ever for me, probably, for this year? All you need to do here is to send me an email, tell me that you took the TOEFL test, you got 26 in the speaking, and that, my friend, would be the best gift you could ever give me. The gift of knowledge, the gift of learning, the gift that you achieved your target score, you met your goal, and all of this hard work paid off. That is the gift, my friend. That's the gift you're going to tell me, right? You can do this. We can do this together, right? Okay, so let's download your practice here. So integrated speaking number 19.
The listening passage explains the 5 stages of the writing process.
Say 5 stages. Don't forget to put that additional syllable. So when stage is singular, you say stage. When you put the S on it, you say stages. Now, for more information there, you can go to my pronunciation lessons. They're called grammatical word endings and syllable division. And I will tell you all the rules about when you need to create new syllables when you're putting grammatical word endings on the ends of words.
The first stage is in-class workshop, where all the writers will discover a topic and will discuss what they know about it. The second stage is the in-class planification.
Okay.
In that stage, all the writers will review what they have learned about the topics
and say the word topic, the T with a little more air, topics, and the topics.
They will put those ideas in order. The third stage is the middle class peer review, where all the writers will review the essays of others. The fourth stage is the final draft, and in that stage the instructor will review the essays.
So the instructors will review or read and grade the essays, you might want to say, or they will evaluate the essays, if you want to say it that way.
The stage is the narration of the final draft, and the instructor will propose some changes that should be given back in 1 week.
Okay. All right. So, what do we have here? I think overall this is I think you have a pretty good response here. So let's go to the rubrics. Let's look at the integrated speaking rubrics here so I can give you a score. So I think overall you nailed it in the sense that you explained all 5 stages, you named them and gave a brief description of each stage. So I think your topic development was very strong. Language use, the only thing I recommend is put this in your speaking journal for today. There's a difference between where and in which. You're using what's called a dependent clause connector. So when you're using where, typically, you're talking about a specific geographical location. Marcelo. So I might say, well, I went to Los Angeles where I purchased some new clothes for my work. Right, now when you talk about the invention stage, instead of saying where students blah blah blah, I would say the invention stage in which students blah blah blah. So a lot of writing handbooks will say this, and I think it's actually better, and it makes your speaking a little bit more formal, and this is a more formal speaking task. Let's face it, you're summarizing somebody else's ideas. You want to be as appropriate as you can and use the right tone. So in cases where you're not referring to a specific geographical location, use in which. So in the first stage, in which writers, the second stage, in which they, in the third stage, in which students, blah, 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 and so on. So just remember that. Now, I don't consider this like a huge error or anything like that, but I'm just giving you some tips on how you can use where versus in which. All right, so delivery, I think overall not too bad. You had pretty good pacing. You didn't have a lot of pauses and hesitations. You're speaking fairly clearly. So what does this mean? I'm always cautious. I don't like to give students high scores, but I think that it's possible you could score very high on this. So I'm going to put you at about 3.1 to 3.3 out of 4, or 24 to 26 points on the speaking section. So I think what you just did was a very strong response. So very good on your part. All right? And now I will email Marcelo the comments that you guys just heard over at YouTube. And I got a good feeling about this guy. Sometimes with the TOEFL, everything needs to be right, needs to be perfect. But this guy has worked very hard, and if anybody deserves success, it is Marcelo. He really does. Okay, let me go ahead and save this. I'm going to email him the comments here. And this guy, I'm not kidding you, every day he sends me a new speaking practice test to listen to and comment on. So the one he did yesterday, I think it was a disaster. He was trying to talk about the important events surrounding the sinking of the Titanic, and that one was terrible. He did not do well at all, but he did much better on this one. This one was a little easier to understand because it listed the different steps in the process. It was easier to explain. I think the integrated speaking task that he did yesterday, it was a little bit harder because the events surrounding the sinking of the Titanic, when I put them into the lecture, I didn't make them really obvious. I didn't say, well, the first event was, or the second event. I explained them within the context of a 4-minute lecture, and I wanted to see if he and all my other students could pick out the most important parts of the lecture and explain those in their speaking task as it related to the purpose of the question, which is what caused the Titanic to sink, at least according to the lecture, and that one he had more trouble with. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and send him these comments here. Okay, I think we're good here. And those are my 2 speaking practice tests I wanted to grade today. That's it. That's all I wanted to do. Now, you guys watching at YouTube, I'm telling you, you got about 30 seconds here. Here, I will type it. If you have any questions, you want to post them now because I'm getting ready to end this video. I'll give you guys about 30 seconds to think about it. Looks like all is pretty quiet. Alright, so you guys at YouTube, thank you for watching my live stream video here. So in the video, I focused around answering some of my online students' questions about TOEFL preparation. I graded 2 different speaking practice tests, and I gave my students comments, and I emailed those comments to them. And that's it. Happy holidays, everybody, and have a very Merry Christmas.